that come out. So today we are talking about why prayer for blessing is delayed. Let me start for the last time in this series by saying, this is the 30th in the series, by saying, I'm not against prayer. We're only enlightening ourselves on the scriptural way in which we have used prayer today. Prayer today is seen as the master key and the only key that believer needs to get things done in the kingdom. But prayer is like a tool that is to be used to get into the presence of God, to hear him, to know what he will have us do for him on the earth. The goal of this series is to help believers to love prayer so much that it's not just going to be done to get things for themselves, but rather to fulfill their calling on earth. And he said, after this manner, therefore pray, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Then he said, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This is the priority of God in prayer. Before you begin to ask for things, and therefore focus your prayer on yourself, rather, let the focus of prayer be about things that pertain to the kingdom. He said, ye ask not and receive not, because ye ask amiss to consume upon your lust. Now, there is a common saying that you will have heard if you have been Christian for a while, and that's prayer for revival. There are many people that have been praying for revival, but they really never get to see revival because there is a science to getting revival. There is a science to getting revival. There is a way the revival will come. And the scripture revealed this to us. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, it said, and every plant of the field, before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field, before it grew, for the Lord had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. God has not caused it to rain on the earth because there was no man to till the ground. This is interesting. God has not caused it to rain on the earth because there was no man to till the ground. God has not caused it to rain on the earth because there was no man to till the ground. God created everything, but in chapter 1, 11 to 12, he created grass, herbs, yielding seed and fruit. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed and fruit, and tree yielding fruit after this kind, whose seed is in itself, but the earth upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herbs yielding seed after this kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after this kind, and God saw that it was good. This plant that God has created could not grow, despite the fact that they have been created in chapter 1, because there was no man to till the ground. There was no man to till the ground. There was no man to till the ground. You cannot fulfill your mandate on earth just by depending on grace alone without being ready to do the work. Without being ready to do the work. Please note that nothing will work in your life until you do the work. Nothing works until you do the work. The idea remains idea until you do the work. Nothing works until you do the work. Idea remains idea until you do the work. This is so important. So important. Because sometimes we leave everything in the hand of God to do, whereas He is depending on us to do it. Look at it again. Remember, we're looking at the reason why prayer for blessing is not answered. This plant could not grow despite the fact that they've been created in chapter 1 because there was no man to till the ground. You cannot fulfill your mandate on earth just by depending on grace alone without being ready to do the work. Because there was no man to till the ground, the grass that has been created, the herb that has been created did not grow. Please know that nothing will work until you do the work. Rain is a sign of revival. But the Lord does not allow rain to fall, revival to fall, until there is a man to till the ground. Until there is a man to till the ground. Until there is a man to till the ground. Why? So that the harvest will not be wasted. So that the harvest will not be wasted. Because God is not a God of waste. When Jesus finished feeding the 5,000, He told them to collect the excess. Nothing should be wasted. If no one will harvest what the herbs and the tree will produce, then there's no point in them growing, even though they have been created. Even though they have been created. So what is it? So what is it that God was expecting to see before it caused rain to come for fruitfulness to happen? What is it I expect to see? What is it that He wants to see happen? What is it that God is expecting to see before it causes it to rain so that fruitfulness can happen? Because there's no man to walk on the ground, there's no man to look after the trees, there's no man to gather the fruits, there's no man to store it. He didn't allow rain to fall. This is why work should never be seen as suffering, but rather as a tool that can unlock abundance of heaven in our life. Work should be seen as a tool that can unlock the abundance of heaven in our life. Work should be seen as a tool that can unlock the abundance of heaven in our life. Work should be seen as a tool that can unlock the abundance of heaven in our life. Work can be described, therefore, as the courier through which heavenly blessings flow to mankind on earth. Work can be described as the courier through which heavenly blessings flow to mankind on earth. What is the key that triggers heaven blessing and abundance? If there is a man in the garden that is ready to work, God will not withhold His blessing. If there is a man in the garden that is ready to work, God will not withhold His blessing. This probably explains the reason why many believers pray and nothing is happening, because really and truly, they are not ready to receive that blessing. There's no work in direction of that blessing. no work being done in that direction. Any country that has not prepared its manpower to work intellectually is a poor country. Does that sound like Nigeria? Any country that has not prepared its manpower to work intellectually is a poor country. That is why the scripture says that there is much food in the tillage of the poor. Proverbs 13:23. It said much food is in the tillage of the poor, but there is that destroy for want of judgment. Much food is in the environment of the poor. But because they have refused to work, they cannot unlock the opportunities. Because they have refused. Because they have refused. Because they have refused. Much food is in the tillage of the poor. Look at a country like Democratic Republic of Congo, which have been described as one of the most blessed country on earth in terms of minerals. But people in that country, and I mean so many people in that country, are living in poverty. Why? Why? Why are so many people in that country living in poverty? In spite of all the resources available in that country. Why? Much food is in the tillage of the poor. Much food is in tillage of the poor. Much food is in tillage of the poor. This is a big issue. Much food is in tillage of the poor. They are poor, but there's much food around. You know, sometimes when you read the Bible, you see some things and you just realize that the scripture is so complete. It's so complete because it's describing the reality of many people in our world today. Much food is in the tillage of the poor. Have you ever wondered why we have so much poor people in Africa and there's so much resources? You know, I do a seminar every Thursday. And I'll be starting a series soon, I think from next week. And in that series, I'll be looking at different states in Nigeria, the opportunity that different states in Nigeria have. Every state in Nigeria has something to offer. Of course, we have not harnessed those opportunities and potential. Even though there is so much poverty in Nigeria, but I must say, there's so much opportunity in this country also. Much food is in the tillage of the poor. if we are not ready to take advantage of those opportunities sincerely, no matter the amount of prayer, God will not allow his harvest to waste. And if we have not developed skill and capacity, we will not be able to take advantage of sometimes most of the things we are praying that God should make available to us. Many cannot even handle it. You can then see the reason why the prayer for miracle is delayed. It is foolishness, ignorance, and even hypocritical to pray for revival without men on ground to do the work. Only laborers gather harvest, and harvest is always there to be taken, but only by those that are ready. This is a precondition for any form of blessing or revival from the Lord. Any country that you see that is rich in the world, it is because they are rich in the culture of hard work. It is because they are rich in the culture of hard work. They are not lazy. Any country that you see that is rich in hard work. God is not a waster. He does not waste his blessing and his resources on a people that are not ready to manage it. This is why you should not pray for revival, for blessing, for prosperity, because God will not answer if you are not ready. Any country that you see today that is rich is because they are ready. They are prepared. They are very hardworking. They have developed a human capacity. The culture of people in Africa is hung on pleasure, is hung on frivolity. And until we change this, even God cannot help us. It is not raw materials that make a nation great. It is the value system of diligence. It is the value system that makes a nation great. Not the work, not their hard work, but their value system. Not their hard work, but their value system. Not their hard work, but their value system. That is what makes a nation great. Value system of hard work, not their laziness, rather, not their raw material. Value system of hard work. This is so sad. In Africa, you know, I was with someone in Abuja on Wednesday, and I was talking about the challenge of Africa, the challenge of how Nigeria, how no matter what government wants to do, like in my sector, for example, government made fund available. To support businesses in the sector. But you know what happened? Majority of the people in government actually share that money among themselves. Most of the money did not get to the people that the money belonged to. So even when the government government had a good intention, you know what happened? There is a value system of people taking what does not belong to them, stealing, and complaining about the country. People steal what belongs to government. supposed to be given to the people. They steal it and they complain. Isn't that hypocritical? The value system of the people in the country is so terrible, I must say. Ladies and gentlemen, our value system is terrible. And because our value system is bad, that's why Nigeria is like this. If people begin to have the right value system, culture of diligence, culture of integrity and honesty, Nigeria will be a better place, I tell you. Within a short time. Laziness pervades everywhere because people don't believe in hard work again. They don't believe hard work again. They rather want to pray for God to come and do it. God could not help it to cause rain to fall on the earth when there was no man to till the ground. The rain of blessing of the Lord only come upon the work of a man that is working hard to till his ground. Religious organizations in Africa are standing on the way of progress and development because they tell the people to just pray for favor because work is a curse. But Jesus said, I must work of the work of him that sent me while it is day. How can work be a curse? When he said, my father worketh hitherto and I work. How can work be a curse? When Paul worked so hard, he said, I labor more abundantly than they hold. How can work be a curse? How? How can work be a curse? Terrible. How can work be a curse? How? Work cannot be a curse. God could not help even rain to fall because there's no man to till the ground. This is why prayer for blessing is delayed. People are not ready to do the work. No matter the amount of prayer for blessing, God will not compromise his principle. It is a waste of time to be gathering to pray for a long time for breakthrough when we are not doing the work. We should pray for God to open our eyes to know what to do, and at the same time, to go and do the work we need to do. The precondition in getting the blessing of God is till your ground. And unless you fulfill this condition, nothing will happen. If you go to church, where work is seen as a curse, you need to run away from such a place because they will destroy you. Some preachers believe work is a curse. Can you imagine? Forgetting that work was given to Adam even before the fall. Man was created by God to work because through work, you realize the blessing of God and rain from heaven. The first instruction that God gave mankind after creation is to work. There is nothing more important than this in life. Work. It is work that makes our world to be what it is today. It is work. This is because through work, you are able to reveal God-given potential that is hidden in you. You are able to bring into physical reality what you receive in your mind. What God tells you through the Spirit, you can bring it to physical reality. Once a man took up that responsibility, he became fruitful because God began to cause those trees to grow. God began to cause those trees to grow. He said, and the Lord God formed man out of dust of the ground and breathed into his nose and breathed into his nostril, and man became a living soul. And the Lord planted a garden in Eden, and there he put a man who he has formed. And out of the ground made the Lord, and out of the ground made he to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, and tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and tree of knowledge of good and evil. In like manner, you do not need to pray for revival again when you have mature sons, men and women that are ready to do the work, because they have discovered their field. And because they have discovered their field, they will do the work and the people will come in, because they will manifest the kingdom and attract people to the kingdom. Why? Because they are already mature. So the real work is to make the people that will do the work available by maturing them, by training them, by preparing them. All the pleasant things of life will begin to come to you when you take responsibility to work hard and till your own ground. When you take responsibility to work hard and till your own ground. Work is one of the greatest things in this life and wealth that God has given to mankind. And the greatest type of work is mental work. The greatest type of work is mental work. There is mechanical work. There is mental work. There is muscular work. But the most important one, the most crucial and critical one, is the mental work. The most potent, the most fruitful, and result-oriented. Mental work. Mental work. Mental work. And that's one area many are not developing very well. Mental work. Mental work is a very important one in our lives. As a matter of fact, mental work is so important that if you're going to do anything unique and different, it must be a brain work. Everybody have muscle. Mechanical work is even output of a mental work. But to be able to use your brain, you must develop your mind. You must develop your mind. A man said, when I began to work for a minimum of 14 to 18 hours a day, luck began to run after me. The more I work, the luckier I get. Because this made me to be ready for opportunities that show up. Because the more I work, the luckier I get, it made me to be ready for opportunities that show up. If you don't work hard as you ought to do, your prayer, your fasting, prophecy, faith, offering, prophet offering, and even God cannot help you. Because if you don't do your part, it will not do its part. And that's one iron law of God that many people don't understand. If you don't do your part, you will just be there. And somehow it will be like, why is it that nothing seems to be happening? Why? If you don't do the work, nothing will work. If you don't do the work, nothing will work. If you don't do the work, nothing will work. This is why many men of God this is why many men of God give prophetic declaration for breakthrough at the beginning of the week, beginning of the month, beginning of the year. But the majority of people in the church are being poor. Sometimes the prophetic declaration is true. Some really are inspired of God to speak, but nothing happened in the life of the people. At the beginning of every year, there's a prophetic declaration to make you prosper in the year, but this produces nothing in many lives. It is religious stupidity to get something for nothing and going every day and every week to the same place and nothing is happening in your life. Any man of God experiencing revival is not doing so because of the anointing, but by the hard work. Jesus said, is food. He said, Jesus called hard work is food, and he prohibited believers from waiting for revival or harvest. He said, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and now cometh harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and see the field, for they are ready for harvest. It's because there are not enough hands to till the ground. God does not send prosperity from heaven. He only gives you power to get wealth and prosper the work of your hand. A religious organization simply need to get ready laborers and develop them to be able to go into their area of harvest, field, area of purpose and calling, and the harvest will come. Work help us to discover the treasure and wealth that are hidden in us. God put man in the garden to tend and keep it. He was given work to do. God made the things on earth to begin to grow when man begin to take responsibility for their own land on the earth. Once you begin to work and research in your own land, you will find other great things that God has hidden in that land. Adam and Eve began to work in the land. They began to see all the treasures that the Lord has kept in the land. Through work, you can enter a great world of amazing discovery to solve human problems. By doing a hard work of observing nature, many inventions in the world today were discovered. People work hard and gave birth to cars. They gave birth to planes. They gave birth to ships. They gave birth to submarines for the use of our world. As I close, don't waste your time praying for prosperity, because it does not give prosperity. It only gives power to get wealth. It only gives power to get wealth. This power is work. And until there is a man ready to do the work, he will not send his blessing, because he is not a waster. Today we have learned why blessing is delayed. Why prayer for blessing is delayed. Why many people pray and pray and pray and pray and pray and nothing seems to be happening. Not because God is not there, but they are not ready. And unfortunately, many people are not even aware that they are not ready. And that if they are not ready, they will not be able. If they are not ready, they will not be able to receive what they are calling for. They will not be able to receive what they are calling for. Thank you very much for joining today. Let me hear from you. Victoria, good evening. How are you? Victoria, are you there? Okay, Victoria. Favor, how are you? Good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. So you can go
Okay,
ahead.
Victoria, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, what are you doing tonight?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay. Why prayers for miracles are aimed at? To share what I've learned, right?
Yes.
Alright, sir. Okay, so tonight I learned the value of hard work, the value of diligence, the fact that I should exalt it and I should give it its place, and blessings will flow, the rain from heaven will descend. That work is that channel by which the blessings of God comes into our lives. So a country that is given to that value of hard work, they would, that country is a truly blessed country. When you mentioned the scripture that says that there is food in the tillage of the poor or
Yeah.
something, you know, no matter how rich a country may be, if they are poor in value, even if they may be resources, like we see in some African countries, even if they may be resources there, they would they still be poor, you know. They may have those resources lying fallow around, but because of that absence of hard work, there's still poverty. And we see other nations whereby they are not even so much as wealthy as some countries. Yes, because they have imbibed that culture of hard work. It's amazing how it is that countries like the US and those places where they experience all these natural disasters, where things are shaking and some things are lost and it's like they have to rebuild again. It just shows that despite the fact that these things happen, they keep recovering. They don't give up. It shows their their diligence and their hard work. But where things are they come on a bed of roses and all, if one is not careful, it gives room for laziness. And when laziness is the people, there will be poverty. I pray the Lord will help us. Basically, hard
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Favor, good evening. How are you? Good evening. Okay, Favor is not
Good
available.
evening, sir. Good evening, sir. Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
Okay,
Good evening, sir.
Yes, long time.
Hi, sir.
Yes. Tonight.
So, thank you very much for tonight. One of the very thing I took away from this is that work is actually very important, and work is God's plan for mankind. So it means that God expects us to work. It's really mind-blowing for me. When you mentioned that country, I can't remember the exact country now. With
Congo.
all the mineral resources, yes, with all the mineral resources, and yet living in poverty. I also notice, even in Nigeria, even if we come back home here in Nigeria, there are a lot of things that um, we learned then, especially during my service year. I think during my service year was when my eyes got opened a bit to our mineral resources and what's happening, because I served in Akure. In Akure, they talked about bitumen, and it was just alarming that we were not using our raw mineral resources. So we're saying we have this mineral resources, we can't transform it, we can't do anything with it. And it's very painful. So looking at it, I think for me, that's looking at the very big picture. But for me as an individual, from the time you started this series and you started to talk about it, I started to appreciate my work better. And I started to see that even where I have pressure or assigned more tasks, that it's not actually to weigh me down. And I started to appreciate, I think with that knowledge, one starts to appreciate working, because before, if you just think you're working for somebody and you just say, oh, they stress me, they give me so much work, this work is, if one has that perception about work, then
I love that statement. People don't understand why they are working. Instead of working for satisfaction, they complain about work, not knowing what work can do for them. Go ahead.
so now I feel differently, because now what I start to see is the more I do that, I'm like, oh, I was able to close this out. Oh, I was able to close this out. So, and the more you work, the more a person works, the more you improve on yourself, the more you see yourself adding value, the better you become. So in general, the work actually makes us better person. The work actually improves our ability. And to also be able to hear that this is linked to the word of God, and this is God's expectation, it's also exciting that this is a means through which God actually blesses his people. This is a means through which God will bless a person. So I think for me, in the course of all this series, I really learned a lot. It has impacted me. It has impacted my perception about work. It has also changed my attitude towards work generally. I'm beginning to embrace more things, learn something new, take up another task, or take up something that is given to me other than things that they are pressurizing me or giving me stress. So that way I'm able to improve myself. And I'm seeing the results, just like you mentioned. What will happen in the end is you will find out that you start to get better commendations, you start to see things differently, to open doors for other opportunities. So thank you very much, sir,
Thank you.
for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Victoria, sorry, Victor. Hello, Victor. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes. How are you?
I'm very well, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I actually learned. I actually were able to learn that work is very important to our advancement as women, and without putting in the needed work, all our prayers are just in vain. But however, I have a couple of questions as I consider
Go ahead.
the importance of work. Okay, yes, sir. So, so as I was listening and I was trying to meditate and understand what was about the importance of work. Yes, I understand that work is very important, but I begin to look at the situations of, let's say, people around me, or of event or circumstances that I've seen happen, and also in the light of the scriptures. You know, for example, in Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 15, says something about I think, let me open it so I can think. Ecclesiastes 9, I think that's verse. Okay, and verse 15 said that now there was found a poor wise man, and he by the wisdom delivered the city, yet no man remembered that same poor that same poor man. So, and I'm wondering that sometimes it's not enough to just be wise, because sometimes it's yes, or sometimes someone may have a skill, may have the knowledge, but sometimes, as I said, just like the example that was pointed out here, that this one was wise, and yet, despite his wisdom, he was still poor. So I begin to look at it that sometimes, even after the work, is the work really all that you need to bring about the change in your life? And another verse again says, I think, I don't know, I think that is in I think Romans, where it says that it is not of him that runneth, or of him that not of him that will it, or is it, or of him that runneth, but of the Lord that showeth mercy. That in as much as we need to work, sometimes all those work may not even, because there are many people that work so hard, and at the end of the day, they are no, their life does not seem to get better. So I'm wondering again that this work, yes, it cannot be overruled, but at the same time, to what extent does this work really pave a way for for someone? So I think that's my question.
Number one is to identify the right work as human, identify the right work. To identify the right work is to discover yourself and know what your area of calling is. That's number one. If you don't discover yourself and invest in your area of calling, then you might have a challenge. That seems as if you're putting in so much, but you're getting so little, because you're like fish out of water, operating in an environment where you're not supposed to operate. You must discover your own land and till your own land, not till another man's land. That's a big challenge for many today, a very big challenge. Now, what we are discussing today is saying that if you want the blessing of God will come when you are ready to do the work. And if you don't do the work, nothing will work. So the Bible says, call unto me and I will answer you and show you great and mighty things. Even though through prayer and grace and love and providence, God will show you. He will show you what to do, but will you do what you are supposed to do? Because it's one thing for you to be shown what to do. It's another thing for you to do what you need to do. Let me give you an example. Joseph knew what Egypt needed to do to be able to grow the economy of Egypt. But do you know what? Joseph, but for his hard work, they would not have been able to achieve what they achieved. He was put in charge and he worked so hard to ensure they're able to save 20% of everything they made. And that helped them in the 7 year of famine. But for his hard work. But for the hard work of David, in being diligent in taking care of sheep, that is what prepared him to take care, to be able to protect and fight for Israel. Because when he was in charge of sheep, he was so hardworking that he would not even allow animals, any of the animals to go, to be taken away by another animal, fighting the bear and lion. So it's so important for us to understand that not much can be achieved in our life when we are very lazy. So when it says it's not of him that willeth, of him that runneth, it's of God that shows mercy. God will show mercy, but you still have to do the work. It's not just the work that you need to do. For example, Paul said, I labor more abundantly than they all. Paul depends on God's grace, but the grace of God can be frustrated in your life when you are lazy. How come Paul was the last apostle? He didn't even see Jesus, but he had more results than people that saw Jesus. And he said, I labor more abundantly than they all. Is it that Paul does not depend on grace of God? He depends on grace and living. Even Jesus was moving from city to city. You know, Jesus said, I must walk the work of him that sent me while it is day. The night coming when no man can walk. He said, my father walketh and hitherto I walk. That's Jesus talking. If Jesus worked so hard, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Our disposition to work should not just be because we want to earn. It's to be able to contribute our own quota to the advancement of mankind. But our point tonight is this. The delay of answer to prayer of many people as far as prosperity and blessing is concerned is because they are not ready to put in the work for that blessing to come into their life. That's basically the issue we're discussing tonight. They are not ready to put in the work that will allow that blessing to come into their life. If they will put in that work, the door will open. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, yes, sir, to understand, sir. But well, what I want to say is that, for example, you look at this poor wise man exercises that was described. The man was contributing to the advancement of his country, or let's say
That
city. Then
statement as a misnomer. That man is not wise.
but Solomon addressed him as being wise.
No. You know, there's I'm looking for the right English word to use. I'm looking for the right English word to use. Sorry, a right literature word to use to be able to describe that situation. Then now there was found in it a poor wise man, and by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no man remembered that same poor man. By his wisdom, he delivered the city. Yet no man remembered that same poor man. The reason why I was not remembered is the fact that in the real sense of the word, this man is not wise.
How, sir?
It's like saying, I'm looking for the right analogy to use.
Because I'm like, it was not just like they say it was wise, because there was the evidence of his wisdom by delivering the city. So I feel that he has done what he could.
Let me give you an example. You know, Jesus said the children of this world are wiser in their generation than the children of the kingdom.
Yes.
Do you remember that scripture?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he was telling believers that even this unbeliever know exactly what to do to be able to ensure that when he loses this job, he will have enough relationship to sustain himself. When he loses this job, so this man is like saying that now in the context of what we are looking at today, this is not even relevant. But I want to even talk about this. No, it's not irrelevant. It's not relevant in the sense that it's not relevant in the sense that we are talking about the fact that you want God blessing, you need to have hard work. In this case, this man, through his wisdom, made a suggestion that helped the city. But, you know, it's like when someone, you know, they said a dead clock is correct twice a day. Have you heard that statement before?
Yes, yes.
So this man was described as being wise because through his suggestion, the city was delivered. But he's not wise enough to help himself. He's not wise enough to help himself. You cannot be wise and be poor. You are not wise. Where is the wisdom? Wisdom that you cannot use to take care of your need. Where is the wisdom there? It's like a man that he was described as being wise because he made a suggestion that helped the city. It's just like a clock that is correct twice a day. A dead clock that's correct twice a day. It's a fluke. But because of the result of his suggestion, he was described as being wise. But other reality of his life showed that this man, in the real sense of the word, is not wise. I don't know if I'm making sense to you.
Yeah.
Because he said wisdom is the principal thing. Get wisdom. In order to get understanding. You cannot be wise and be poor, my brother. It's not possible. The size of your pocket is a sign of your wisdom. Am I making sense to you?
Yes, sir.
The size of your pocket is a sign of your wisdom. You can't be wise. Which wisdom is it that you can use to help others, you can't use to help yourself? It's not wisdom. You are just lucky, or occasionally you say something that makes sense. But when we look at it holistically, we can't rate him as being wise because he can't use his wisdom to help himself. I don't know if I'm making sense to you.
Yes, I understand. But me, I'm just wondering that he has done enough by saving a city, even if it was even a fluke. Shouldn't that fluke bring in some form of
No,
success
that's
or luck?
exactly. So that means, let's look at the foolishness of this man. He has leveraged, he has generated attention. He cannot leverage that attention to get something for himself. You know, it's like, so he has been able to save the city, but he's not wise enough to leverage on that. You know, that's a leverage to be able to get people to his side, to get more popular, to get support. But he's not able to leverage on this, on the solution he provides to get support. That's a sign that he's not wise, that it was just a fluke. Because if he is indeed his wife, he will know what to do to leverage on what he has done, and he will be helped, he will be supported. But he cannot even help himself, which is a sign that that act is a wise act, no doubt. But this man is not a wise man. He just expressed wisdom through an act that helped. But when you look at him in totality, he's not wise. It's just a dead clock that is correct twice a day. You take it twice a day. The size of your pocket is a measure of your wisdom. He's poor. He was left to himself and neglected. So he could not help his own economics. At the same time, he could not help leverage on the solution he provides to attract more help or resources to himself. It's not wise, my brother. He just offered a suggestion that worked. And because of that suggestion, what he was described as being wise. But totality, looking at him, he's not a wise man. He just demonstrates wisdom in an issue. And it happened to some people. Because the character of wisdom, everything that characterizes a wise man is deficient in this man. If 10 things characterize a wise man, only one is sin. So with one, we cannot conclude that he's wise, even though the act that makes him be described as being wise because of what he did. But the characteristics of wisdom is not consistent with his life. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. That characteristic is not consistent with his life, even though one thing shows a sign of wisdom, but when you look at it in totality, it's not consistent. So in totality, he's not a wise man in total. But in the act of helping the city, he demonstrates wisdom. And there are many Christians like this today who demonstrate wisdom by talking to someone about Christ. He that winneth a soul is wise. But check other area of his life. You will know he's not wise. He just demonstrates an act of wisdom. He that winneth a soul is wise. So that's an act of wisdom, right? But does not demonstrating an act of wisdom does not make someone a wise man. He that winneth a soul is wise. So you preach to someone about Christ, you win the soul, you are wise. But in totality of your life, it shows that you have demonstrated a sign of wisdom, but you're not wise. Because you still cannot control yourself. You still cannot help your economics. You still have issues even with your wife or with your husband or with your children. You still have issues at work. You don't even have a job, even though you want a soul. Of course, you have demonstrated act of wisdom, but in totality, you are not wise. That's a good example. I don't know if that help you.
Yes, so wisdom is progressive.
Wisdom is all-encompassing, not progressive, all-encompassing. You keep growing, of course, but it's all-encompassing. It's like when you say someone is fool, it's a fool.
So what's the standard for measuring wisdom? What is the standard? Or at what point do you see?
No.
Since there are different angles.
So a wise man is not wise occasionally. He's not wise in what's the name? He's not wise if you look at they call it 12 important areas of our life. Someone cannot be wise in 1 or 2 or 3. The person will know 1 or 2 or 3, and he say he's wise.
So, okay, because if I look at it in terms of success,
before you say he's wise, so when you look at it holistically, relationship with people, emotional intelligence, is economics, is marriage, relationship with his children,
So
relationship with
okay, so
God,
can I
relationship with God, is the way he manages health. So if he's wise, it will not be it will be at least 70-80% of those critical areas, not just in one or two. 20-30% is poor. It's an act of wisdom, but the person is not wise in the real sense of the word. He should be scoring 70-80%. It might not be 100,
so
but at least 70.
what are the core areas?
The what?
So what are the core areas? Because I'm trying to like have, let's say, an estimate of what it really means. Because for example, when I'm talking
his relationship with God, his relationship with fellow man, the work, his relationship with work, as in work ethics, his economics, finance, his marriage, relationship with kids, health, purpose, and calling. The way of life, attitude, emotional intelligence, I can only mention just about 10 now. It's actually about 12 of them that someone recommended area of your life, as in that you must be looking at every time and ensure everything is in order.
So, but going by this standard now, that means there are very, very few, in fact, extremely few.
Why do you think our society is the way it is? Many people, why did our society, there are many foolish people in our society. People are not wise. It shows in the priority now of people. It shows in what is important to parents. Many people send children to school, to big school, not for the spiritual and moral upbringing of the children, but only for academic performance. Some is not about academic performance, to build network so we can meet children of other rich people. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So
but going by, because I'm just,
yeah,
because I'm like going by this standard. I mean, even if not even our society, like look at it in a broader perspective, like in the world.
The reason why the world is upside down is because many people are foolish. I'm telling you. Many people are foolish. And foolishness is not an insult, it's a state of existence. So it can change. There are characteristics that conform to a definition. Many people in society are not wise. I'm telling you. Many people are not wise. It shows in the kind of decision people take now. The religious organization they go to, the way they are messed up, their brain have been messed up, the way they behave, the things they say. Look at what people say now. Go on Twitter now. See the way people are talking on Twitter. Go on Instagram now. See the people expose them. See the rubbish that people say on Instagram and on TikTok now. Just go online now. Just see the foolishness everywhere. Just see it. It's everywhere. So you shouldn't be surprised. Because if our society is wise, our society will be a lot better. The fact that society is like this is a sign that majority in our society are very unwise. I'm telling you, my brother. And the foundation of wisdom, the beginning, is fear of God. That's the foundation. The fear of God, a lot of things you will not do as a result of the fear of God. There's so many things you will not do just because of that fear of God. It's the foundation on which you build other things. You know? Any other question? You say you have a couple of questions.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. No, not even. I don't want to go beyond the scope of this meeting, sir, because so no, because I've finished like 3 series on the SoundCloud. This now, like for like 2 months now. I've been listening to it almost every day.
Which one?
So I finished the making more. I think making multiplying and
Okay,
investing
money.
your
Okay,
money.
good.
Yes,
Good.
yes,
Good.
yes. Then I recently finished them. What's this one again? Ancient wisdom for fruitful living.
Okay.
Yes,
Good.
and I'm currently now on the fundamental principles of living life. So
Okay.
I've been fundamental principles of I think something about life. No,
Quality
fundamental
of life.
something of wisdom. Yes, quality of life. So I have so that really blessed me anyway. Shabo. So well, thank you, sir. But I want to can I ask that being wise and being successful, is it the same thing?
No.
Because
No.
I look
There
at
are
it that
many successful fools in our society. There are many successful fools in our society. That you have money is not a sign of wisdom, but you cannot be wise and not have money. You cannot be wise and not have money. But that you have money is not sign that you are wise. No. There are many successful fools. You know, come to Unilag in the night now. See what the nuisance of money. How someone will bring a big car to come and carry a girl enough to be a child. That's the nuisance of money. That person is not wise. That's nuisance of money. That's the nuisance of money.
because when talking about wisdom, I was just wondering that even the like let's say the role models or let's say the most successful in terms of like finances, because if you check like the lives of billionaires and people that I think Bill Gates, most of them, they really have, if when you look at their life holistically, there are areas, yes, they've tried to succeed significantly, not even successfully in business, but some of them, many of them even have issues with their marriage, and that's even one of like a common point. So I'm wondering that really can someone really have it or we all live an imperfect life? So that's something I know
No.
that
I didn't say 100% now. I said 70%. But one of the critical area is finance. It's so important. That's a very critical area because every other thing, many other things tied to it. Many other things tied to it.
Yeah.
So it's finance.
But like the billionaires, for example, now the word billionaires, many of them have issues with, they've always had failed marriages, this divorce, that married this, and it's almost like a common denominator for all of them. So I'm wondering that sometimes is it that finance contributes to failed marriage because it's
No. It's not the finance. There are many. Why are you focusing on the people that are rich, that have issue? Why are you not focusing on other people? Warren Buffett did not have that issue. Now, why are you looking at Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates that have that issue? And
there are many others, sir.
I know.
Warren Buffett is just
also look at
even
look when you want to look at this thing, look at it holistically. Don't look at the sum and leave others. Look at the one also that are not having that issue. So it's not money, it's not the money, it's the fundamental issue they already have ab initio that's causing the problem. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay.
Fundamental issue that already have ab initio. If you don't respect your wife, or if you don't have the fear of God and you are unfaithful in marriage, being rich will not stop. In fact, do you know what riches does? The wealth actually bring out the nuisance, make it more pronounced. If we have money, we carry more girls now. The money will make it. But if he doesn't have that trait before and is disciplined, he will not do it because it's not something he will do normally. Because he has the fear of God, or because he's just a disciplined guy. Whatever nuisance we have in our life is amplified by money, and it's also amplified by drunkenness. whatever nuisance we have, it will be amplified by money and drunkenness. So whatever people do, it's not because they are rich, it's because that problem, like Bill Gates, for example, Bill Gates had issue with one of the staff in the company. You know, a staff in the company. And what's the name of this man? Clinton. Clinton had issue with a staff in the White House. You know, so I mean, is if you look at them holistically, you might not be able to say that's a sign that they have issues in that area of their life, which is why I say it's not 100%. But that finance, even if it's 60, 70%, the person has finance must be part of it. It should be part of it. Because that's a sign of the way you take decision as human and the kind of value you're able to create on the earth.
So in the hierarchies, fear of God and finance next.
No, fear of God is so critical because fear of God ties everything together. It ties everything together. It ties everything together. And finance is critical, yes. We'll start your program next week. We'll start your program next week. I've titled it The Faith, the Fight, and the Future. The faith, the fight, and the future. Responding to an atheist question. The faith, the fight, and the future. Responding to atheist question. That's what we'll be discussing from next week. And that will take us maybe for another 2 months. Let's see how it goes. It's going to be, I'll be posting the question and try to answer it. Maybe that will stimulate other questions from the audience. Let's see how it goes.
Oh, all right, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
I'm really looking forward to
it. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And if you have people who are skeptical about their faith, you know, one of the things I would dwell on at the beginning is this idea that that Christianity is not our religion. That's what I will spend more time talking about at the beginning. The fact that some people think Christianity is white man religion. Those people don't even understand history at all. Before
someone said that today to me.
Someone said that to you today.
Like yesterday, that is a Jewish religion that is not for.
The Jews have their own religion. Christianity is not Jewish religion. Jews still maintain their Jewish religion, Judaism. And it's not white men that brought Christianity to Africa. Christianity have been in Africa before white men came. They just spread it. Yes, now. Ethiopian eunuch that got born again. He got born again. He's an Ethiopian. He was going back to Ethiopia. And he got born again. What are you talking about? There are Christians in Africa before white men came. But they came with enough tool and resources to spread it. But Christianity already exists here. It's not white man religion. It's not. It's not white man religion. We'll be discussing that next week, don't worry. All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. See you next week and bye-bye.